Hey, this is Rebecca at Dreaming Tree Artist Retreat, and I am still working on the Defemember challenge, and it is number 15, the 15th, belly bands and butterfly labels. So I've combined them pretty much, and first I gathered my tissue paper, which is all this scrap paper that I blot and clean my rubber stamps on, and spray oxide background spraying, and then I take and put them in this envelope, and they're all separated by color. And then I go in and stamp on them and decorate them, maybe some stencils. Some of these are gel prints. And so this is the second stage of using these scraps. Let's do these first. These series here, I'm using colored tissue paper. Well, the tissue that I use for staining and dabbing up. So that's the background here, and it's the background in the front. So what I'm taking is fancy napkins like this, and I take a piece of tape, and on the back side, I pull off all the layers. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 3. This one has 2 layers. Let's separate it. Oh, this corner's folded over. Okay. And that leaves you with a very thin layer. Almost see your hand through it. But when you do separate them and put them on the white tissue, like I'll put white tissue or the colored tissue that I've sprayed. I'll show you that in a minute. I think this one was just white because I love the design of these flowers on that tissue paper. And so what I did was take a wet brush and you go around it like that. And you can see the wet line in there, and then it just pulls apart without ripping your design. And I've used all kinds of napkins. I've got fancy packs of butterflies and the ferns and a bunch of other kinds of designs. You can buy all kinds of designs for fancy dinner napkins. So with these, I put the butterflies on there, and this is a cutout butterfly. And then the backgrounds. Okay, so what I did was you take a piece of plastic. Get that out. This plastic, and this is a good plastic. It's a heavy-duty chocolate chip bag. You take your Elmer's glue, 2/3 Elmer glue and 1/3 water, so it's pretty soupy. And then you take a wet brush, which mine are soaking wet. It's this mop brush that's real floppy. And I've got them in the water because I don't want the paint to harden on them. I mean, the glue to harden on them. And you use that mop brush to mop down a layer of glue. Then you put your white tissue down. Then you put your flowers, taking them apart from that napkin and laying them down on the... Well, once you put your white tissue down, you paint again the glue. Then you put this down and you take your glue again and paint these all down. And once you get them down, you can put another layer of white tissue on top of it. Some tissues are a little bit thinner than others, which is good because the design comes through, but they also tear easy, and that's why you use that mop brush loaded with glue and wipe it on there. So they're pretty wet. And then once you've got them down there, you let them dry. Sometimes they'll curl up in the pages, but the paper's fine. It stays pretty flat. I like wadding up my tissue and making it more crinkled because it spreads out easier and leaves a nice little texture to it. I don't know if you can see it in the picture. And you do the same with the butterflies, just adding the butterflies and layers of, so then your top layer is glue, you let it dry, and then you peel it off of your plastic, and then I turned them all over because once you peel them off, they're real super shiny on the back. And I don't want that shiny layer, like you can almost see it there on that piece. That's the shiny glue. So then I put more tissue paper on the back, and that's when I use the designer tissue that I've either, this is gel printed, this is spray oxide ink, and then glue it down. And it doesn't really glue to the plastic. You're basically just gluing it on here. So you're wiping this with glue and then laying your last piece of tissue down. Let it dry, and then you can cut it apart, tear it apart, because it was in one big sheet. I make a whole sheet and design it to the size I want, like this one. Let's see if I can lay it down like it was. I think like that. Yeah, there's one missing. Oh, it's in my sample book. So it's one big sheet. And you can see I laid the, so it's glue on the plastic, lay your clear tissue down, glue on the clear tissue, mop it on, and you kind of work fast. And then once you got it mopped on, you start laying down these tissues and you use your brush to move it and flatten it out. And then you put the butterflies, which it might have dried out a little bit, so you'll brush some more glue and then put your butterflies down. Once you get all them down, let it dry on the plastic, and then you peel it off the edges. It'll release. Sometimes if you got too much glue on the very, very edge, it will stick down to the paper and it's hard to get it off. But I don't put it real close because I don't mind this raveled look on the edge. You can also use gauze in between a layer. It adds a really cool texture to it and makes it really strong. And this is pretty strong. I've used these for pages and journals. I've also, with the gauze in between, I've used it, and you can stain your gauze whatever color you want. I've used them as front covers on journals. So this is what it kind of looked on the back. So I just took like this paper here, used my script rubber stamp on it and stamped it. And that's how I got this little bit of design that you can see inside there, a little bit of script design. And then this is another dinner napkin that had little ginkgo leaves in it. Forgot to make the video farther away. Anyway, these quotes I didn't glue down because I think once I get it in a journal as a belly band or just a tag, then I'll decide where I want to put those because I didn't want to cover up too much of the words, and this is not the whole quote. So that's that one. See, each sheet had a series of colors to it. I think this one was just one long series like this, maybe. There we go. I'm not sure how that was, maybe like that. So one of these tissues was one, yeah, it's like this, because there's, it was one piece of decorative tissue and not a napkin. These butterflies are the napkins. These are cutouts. And then this is the third one, and this was done the same way where they're all lined up. But then I took the napkin, and actually the background is cut out decorative tissue, pre-printed tissue. And then the napkin, I cut sections out. I didn't use the whole napkin. Let me see if I've got that one right here. I had a couple boxes of napkins. Yeah. So this napkin was much closer together, large, compacted print design. So it's pretty full. So I took off this bottom edge and then I tore, well, I didn't tear, I used that wet brush and marked these different sizes. And actually this is 3 layers of tissue in here, so there's extra layers in between that you have to separate. And so I just took little sections that I wanted on my, actually this is called Faux Rice Paper. So you can see I took the sections and kind of put some space around them. And then I just put all the butterflies at the top. So same process, tissue, which was printed, and then napkins that I separated, and then the butterflies. And then the backs of them were all some gel print here, and then these were just spray oxides that I used the wet tissue and wiped it up, and you have to be careful when they're super wet. The tissue does really tear apart quickly. And then I made these. They are kind of a postcard, but I wanted to use up my scrap tissue and make a little stamp area. And that one, the stamp, you can't see real good. But yeah, those turned out kind of cute. So they're little tags. And I can make them into any kind of little tag, like a edge of the page tag. So that's challenge 15. Mark it off my list, and I'm a day behind, so I will try to finish up Shaker Tag, and Moon Dust is next.